Well, certainly two groups so far have claimed responsibility for this attack. One was Liwa al-Islam, which means the Brigade of Islam, and another was the Free Syrian Army. One of its leaders, Qasim Saad ad-Din, said that this was what the Free Syrian Army meant when it said it had launched Operation Damascus Volcano. Now, it's impossible, of course, to work out whether those claims might be true, whether these are opposition groups trying to claim responsibility for an attack that is no doubt a major strike at the heart of the regime. Now, the regime has called this a suicide bombing, but a lot of questions remain. This was an amazing breach of security in an autocratic state. Whoever did this knew not only how to get into one of the best guarded buildings in Damascus at a time of emergency. I mean, this is when Damascus is undergoing some of the worst violence, in fact, since this uprising began. And certainly the people that were guarding this building would not exactly have been taking a nap at the time that this happened. It would have been very, very hard to approach. They also knew that this high-level meeting was taking place and who was going to be there. So this is a level of expertise and a suggestion that really this was planned weeks, if not months in advance. So whoever actually blew themselves up may not be the issue here. I think the question is, what was the level of, penetration at the top? Does this mean that someone has defected at the top? How were these people or this personal people able to gain access to this meeting?
Well, Lucy, as you say, this is indeed the first time the Assad regime has been hit so close to its heart. Is it a sign that the opposition has finally come together after weeks and months of disillusion? Are they figuring out now how to strike where it hurts?
It's still really hard to tell whether this was any of the main opposition groups, although they're saying they're claiming responsibility. This suggests something much bigger than that, either some sort of outside help or inside help. As I say, a few months ago, the Free Syrian Army was barely able to hold a little bit of territory in Syria. Now this is a staggering degree of coordination and military precision. Now, certainly these figures that were targeted are at the center of the regime, and particularly Asif Shawkat. Although the defense minister was also killed, Asif Shawkat is really the biggest name of the list of people who were there. He is the president's brother-in-law. When you talk about the regime as opposed to the Syrian government, the inner clique around Bashar al-Assad, the president, you're really talking about people like Asif Shawkat. This is absolutely enormous, and it does suggest, as I said, a level of planning and I think also it makes you wonder what the next step is going to be. Is this the beginning of a coordinated plan? I think it's going to be very important to see what happens today, which which leaders come into place to replace these two figures, who replaces the defense minister, how the regime reacts to this. I think also we'll have to see whether there's any further escalations on the ground that suggest this is part of a coordinated plan. I don't think it suggests that the opposition is uniting. I think it's very fractured on the ground, but I think it does suggest that there's some help that it's getting from someone within the regime or within the army, because I can't see otherwise how they could have gained this access.